Yes, people. JT with another special here. So we got Peter Mandleson. The return of Peter Mandleson. I don't know what this video is saying. Let's see what it says here. If I can scroll it back. My fingers, I cut my fingernails, so I can't. Oh, here we go. Oh, wow. Here we are.
Peter Mandleson was sunning himself in Corfu yesterday. Now he's arrived back in Britain, denying he's returned to take charge of the country.
Prime Minister starts his real holiday today. If there are things, bits and pieces that I can pick up and help make sure that he enjoys a really good holiday, he certainly deserved it. He's entitled to a good holiday, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that he's not interrupted. But that doesn't mean to say that I'm in charge of the country.
Nonetheless, it's transpired that over the weekend there was no one person in charge of running the UK. And Mandleson effectively had the top job. Not bad for someone who wasn't even in the government last summer. So the heart of the British government temporarily shifted this weekend, 1,200 miles out of London, to a villa with spectacular views of the Ionian Sea. But how do you do a Mandy and get in the top spot? Firstly, make sure there's an intriguing gap in the power roster. Labour Deputy Leader Harriet Harman, who'd been minding the shop in Mr Brown's absence, went on her own holiday on Thursday. Mandy must have given her some travel tips about how leaving before the weekend rush is so much cheaper. Government sources confirmed that the baton had passed to Lord Mandleson when he still had 3 days of his Corfu holiday left to run. So, secondly, make sure you've got yourself one of these, or the equivalent. Passengers on Mr Mandelson's EasyJet flight out to Corfu said he was glued to his BlackBerry until the moment he had to switch it off. And once he arrived, aides kept the sun-loving peer in touch with urgent developments via mobile technology, without interrupting his afternoon siesta, we hope. But apparently, Number 10 said there'd be no need to organise an emergency flight home if a major crisis broke this weekend, because Gordon Brown, on holiday a mere 420 miles away in Fife, would step in. So that has to be tip number 3. If you want another go at doing the top job, do it well the first time and don't ruffle any feathers. As Harman managed to raise a few eyebrows during her few days in charge by complaining that men couldn't be left to run things on their own.
Oh, no.
Looks like she might have a few things to say about UK PLC's new chief exec.
So we have Peter Mandleson here. Right. And so he's going to be appointed US Embassy. The US Ambassador. US Ambassador. So it's a great honor, he says. It's a great honor. What else can we see here? Served multiple ministerial roles under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. Right. And we also have... He's also had a record of criticising Trump. Little short of a white nationalist and a racist, he said. Also called Trump reckless and a danger to the world. Also said Trump is a bully. So I don't know why they picked this guy here. Right? And, you know... See, so, yeah, he's in the news here. He's in the news here. This is the BBC report. I'm just reading through it. And he has had a tumultuous past, may we say. Right? Friends with Epstein. Also received money. For a flat in, I think it was Islington, right? In Islington. So you have he got a loan, had a loan, and he's got the scandals there. So this is the Telegraph, so that he done his scandals, and it was a £373,000 loan. So it's a loan, right? So he's getting absolutely slated in the press. So let me have a look at some other political scandals quickly. So, political scandals, we have number 1, politician commentator bounder. So it says Robert Bob Boothby was a Conservative Party member as well as a recurring BBC commentator on public affairs. Entering Parliament in 1924 and 30 years in Parliament. He had protracted affair with Dorothy Macmillan, the wife of his Conservative colleague Harold Macmillan. How about that? Right? Also, he said he had an affair with notorious Ronnie Cray, right? Who was the identical twin of Reggie, right? The Cray brothers. And dominated London's underworld for 20 years, the Cray brothers. And he's also says here, largely pro-Tory tabloid press for years before being inferred by the Daily Mirror in 1964, a year after John Profumo rose to notoriety. And the revelation sparked an MI5 investigation, but did not derail the career of the now Baron Boothby, who continued to sit in the House of Lords until he passed away in 1986. So number 2, you have the Profumo affair. And so Boothby had entered politics a generation later. He may well have met the same fate as Tory colleague John Profumo. Profumo was a British Secretary of State for War when he began an affair with a 19-year-old model, Christine Keller. The two were introduced at an exclusive party at Lord Astor's Clivedine estate, adding an extra layer of aristocratic debauchery to the story. And it also says Keeler was also involved with the Soviet naval attaché, or a suspected spy. How about that? With all the spy news going on. Right, so there was Profumo. Right, we're just breezing through them. And you also got another a very British scandal, as we do. The true story of the first British politician to stand trial for conspiracy to murder was featured in 2018 miniseries starring the one and only Hugh Grant, obviously, and Ben Whishaw. And Hugh Grant also has had his few, not anything to do with murder, but I would say a colourful past. So, again, desperate to hide a previous affair with Norman Scott, right? A stable hand he'd met while visiting a friend in 1961. When Scott refused to stop contacting Thorpe after the married MP ended their relationship, Thorpe allegedly paid to have his former lover zilled. The October 1975 attempt on Scott failed, though his beloved Great Dane Rinker did not do so well. We also got a faked passing. So, political scandals. The story of John Stonehouse is a standout. Stonehouse was a former Labour cabinet minister who fell into financial trouble and came under investigation by the Department of Trade and Industry. And so he said rather than face prosecution, he allegedly deposited his clothes on a Miami beach in Florida to leave the impression that he had drowned. Believe it or not, Ripley. My man, John Major. Back to basics, it says here. 1993, 1980s lacked the political drama. Okay, but John Major would come and put an end to that. So the Tories needed to change their image. While many admired Margaret Thatcher as the Iron Lady, others saw the Tories as a nasty party. And so John Major came in. He set out to change the image. And, you know, he had his back to basics, returning to core values of neighbourliness, decency and courtesy. And the slogan came to be a source of ridicule for the government over the next few years as the ministers were caught in quick succession of, yes, the S word, yes, the M word, and the S word again, scandals that harken back to those of the 1960s and 70s. You had Norman Lamont revealed to have a sex therapist living in his rented out London flat. David Mellor resigned as a minister after sordid revelations of extramarital affairs with actress Antonio Des Sancha. Transport Ministry, Stephen Norris was repeatedly having numerous or simultaneous affairs with 3 women who did not know about each other. Milligan as well, Stephen Milligan, was tragically found on his kitchen table as a result of asphyxiation. However, John Major denied an affair with Downing Street caterer Claire Latimer. Years later, it was revealed that he had a 4-year affair with fellow Conservative, yes, Edwina Curry. Do you remember that, people? Let's jump. Oh, what was that? Al Fayed there. What's that about Al Fayed? So also getting paid money to ask questions on behalf of Al Fayed. There's questions there. So did they know about him and his dodgy stuff that he was doing? Now, 1 second. So we also have decency is a word few have associated with Tony Blair's long-time confidant, New Labour mastermind Peter Mandleson. Yes, the man that is going to be the ambassador has made it to number 6 there. Mandy was forced to resign the post only after 5 months when it discovered to have accepted an interest-free loan from a fellow ministerial colleague. How about that, people? Receiving money. Also, in 2004, he left Parliament for the European Commission, where he served 4 years as Trade Commissioner. Blair brought him also back to 2008, and he was appointed to the House of Lords, returning to the government for 3rd time as Business Secretary. This time he survived the post until government lost office in 2010. So he's a recurring character coming back to British politics. He's back again. So we have expense crisis in the Dockhouse, right? So we have, Mandleson was overlooked somehow with his financial improprieties, in part because they were worried about the skeletons in their own closets, because they were all on this thieving behaviour, yeah? Right? So parliamentary perks, right, previously been kept from taxpayers' prying eyes. But in 2009, stories of widespread abuse of this led journalists to launch a Freedom to Information request. And this accessed ministers' expenses. So one Conservative MP was discovered to have nearly 2,000 for a new duck house. Several ministers and Speaker of the House Commons had to resign for their posts, and 5 MPs were sent to jail as a result of fraudulent claims. Yes. And there you have it, people. There you have it. So Mandy's back. Mandy's back. And also, let's not forget Mandy, his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein as well. Okay. The Financial Times had a look into that. Right. So my favourite newspaper, his links to, 1 second. So also got his links to Jeffrey Epstein, right, the disgraced financer, and he's there blowing out a big cake. I wonder what else was getting blown out. Okay, right, so it's laid bare in a newly released report that describes repeated meetings between the disgraced financer and the politician he knew as Petey. How about that? So they had not the only one. The internal JP Morgan also reports from 2019 filed to New York court on Tuesday found Jeffrey Epstein appears to maintain a particular close relationship with Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and Lord Peter Mandleson. Yes, people. So the new ambassador has a colourful past, right? And the bank's probe, codenamed Project Jeep, commissioned to shed light on JP Morgan's 15-year relationship with Epstein, refers to various meetings and conversations between Epstein and Mandleson, and his suggestions in 2009 as while he was business secretary. He also stayed at the lavish townhouse in Manhattan while the financier was in prison for soliciting prostitution from a minor. How about that? So we've got JP Morgan on their case, right? So here, I think this is the picture of the residence in Upper East side of New York. Well, look at that. Look at that for a place to hang out. And, you know, Epstein courted many people, including Bill Clinton, and also Donald Trump as well. Donald Trump. And Mandleson was a pivotal figure in modern British politics, winning New Labour alongside former Prime Minister Tony Blair as well. Right? And even was with Gordon Brown. Right? Great Scots. And yes, Mandleson, right? So you can see on your screen some awful crimes that Epstein was getting up to, right? I think, you know, it's fair to say he liked them young, right? So there's emails referred to the JP Morgan report. Epstein writes to Staley, Peter, will you be staying at 71st over weekend? Do you want to organise either you and Jamie? Curtly, up to you. I don't know what that curtly means, right? So Jamie is an apparent reference to JP Morgan chief executive Jamie Dimon. Staley replied to Epstein that he would come if he was in the town, but Dimon was in Asia at the time. Mandleson has refused to confirm or deny that he stayed the weekend at Epstein's 77 million townhouse. And that's at 9 East 71st Street on New York's Upper East Side. So there's emails, so, you know, hanging about with all kind of people. Rain is falling. Yes, heavy rain. I want to go and do my shopping in a minute. So it won't be too much longer. Right, so that's that. So he's known as PT. Right. Epstein noted to Staley that P.E. was with him in Paris as well, where the financier owns a sumptuous apartment. So he's hanging out in France as well. And it's not clear when he met Epstein, right? So it's not clear when they first met. Although a report in 2002 in New York Magazine described him in attendance at an intimate dinner party at Epstein's Manhattan home. And photographs emerged of them both as well. And also shopping together in the Caribbean, right, in 2005. Right, and he was introduced to Ghislaine Maxwell. That is the daughter of the tycoon Robert Maxwell, and she's serving 20 years in prison for assisting Epstein. And Mandleson agreed to be a founding citizen of the Tierra Mar Project, a non-profit ocean conservation group founded by Ghislaine Maxwell that had financial support from Epstein as well. So one person close to Mandleson said that he had never done business with Epstein, and the association was principally through Ghislaine, right? Maxwell. Right, so there's a few things here, right? Few things happening here, right? And what I'll do, I'll close out here, people, and we'll continue this, right? Respect to all. Peter Mandleson, people, our new ambassador to Trump. Respect. True peace, one and all.